Well, hello again to this episode of the CPO Perspective. I am delighted to welcome my guest today, Amit Katiyar. Amit, do you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Amit Katiyar. I hail from India, and my last assignment was as head of procurement in Lipton Teas and Infusions, based out of Dubai.
Wonderful. And look, as we've talked about, and as you, the audience, will be aware, one of the things that I hope we do through the CPO Perspective is to get an understanding of different perspectives, different journeys, how each of us and each of the guests arrived leading procurement functions. So, Amit, perhaps give us a bit of background, set the scene. Where did you start? Were you, a young man dreaming of being a CPO, or what? How did you get here?
Which is a nice question. So, yeah, CPO was not a target at any time in my life, to be very honest. I come from a very humble background. I, I started my journey. My parents put a lot of effort in my education and all. And once I studied as a chemical engineering, there was a dream to be a process engineer at that point. So going to a big oil fields, designing the processes there. I think that was the first goal I thought that I should be doing this. And then when I completed that, eventually I went for master's in MBA. And I did from National Institute of Industrial Engineering, and now it's called as Indian Institute of Management, Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed a different perspective to me. It gave a different perspective to me that if you are in positions of change, you can do much more and you can learn much more and you can grow much more. And the city of Mumbai it gave me better dreams and bigger dreams, let me put it like that. And in my first assignment, then I joined Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages. As you rightly say that you open the happiness when you open a bottle of Coke. It was an amazing, amazing experience. I always believe that we all are sum total of all the past experiences that we have. Because that builds our thought, our thinking process, and how we see the world around. And I think Coke gave me those perspective that how you let people grow. I still remember one fine day I made a big mistake in my organization, and I was like trembling in this first 3 months of my life in a private company. And by the way, I was the first person from my entire family, extended, who was working in a private organization, which happens to be in India.
Wow. Right.
So it brings a additional pressure. Oh my God, what will happen now? And I walked to this manager and inform him, sir, I made a mistake. He takes me out and walks me and tells me, Amit, good, you know that you have made a mistake. That's the first good thing you know. Second, making mistake is not a problem, but repeating is.
It-
And he told me, your mistakes may be of like smaller chunks. My mistakes are even bigger. So don't worry, I'll take care of it. But
Well,
focus,
I mean, how wonderful to start life with a with
yeah,
a leader like that, right?
exactly. And that 5 minutes changed to my view that how you
Right.
should look at people and how you should unlock the capacity of thoughts and processes and bringing them out of fear. And then I was one of the most recognized professional of those teams because the confidence and the trust and the backing this leader gave me.
How about that?
So that's where I started my supply chain planning journey. Then when I did planning, then I understood planning, okay, it's quite a time I've done. What next? And I thought procurement is where I can build my career. And this is the first time I moved to a procurement role. Procurement happens to be quite interesting because you meet the external world. And every transaction, you're learning with people and also learning about the industries. So I only say that in any organization, there are two people who constantly do external engagement with money. One is sales and one is procurement.
Yeah, very good.
Generally,
Yeah.
sales are being like, I would say, given a higher rank when it comes to recognition, and somewhere procurement gets diminished. Slowly, that has changed within the organization.
I agree.
But the exposure that you get to understand the industry, for example, if you are working in a beverage company and you have to buy preforms and you're talking to the giants like Reliance or Sabic, and you have these constant interaction, then you have to understand crude. So the way you unlock the value of the product,
Hmm.
the way you come to should cost models will make you learn in the process immensely. And this triggered me that this gives me a large learning base for multiple things. And hence I thought this is a good path that I should choose for me.
Ah,
And for next 5 years, I continued and I worked in multiple categories such as carton, shrink wraps, glass. And I went to these amazing factories and learned about their processes, how the workers are coming in and out, motivated and turning things around for us. Then one fine day, I got a call from Dubai, a miracle in the desert. And for
indeed.
what? An ice cream company. And what
I'm
better
sure
it
that
can be?
who could
So I
make it up,
land here,
right? An ice cream company in the desert. Perfect.
amazing. And you know what's the name? Its name was London Dairy Ice Creams.
Right. Wow. How about that?
So I headed procurement for this company for 1 year. And in this company, what I really learned is quality. While it is an owner driven organization, the quality is never compromised. They will get the best of the best from everywhere. And that maintains the brand, that maintains the product, and that maintains the trust.
How about that?
And
How
I
about
see the sales keep on growing because the consistency of the quality. While everybody will falter for sales, they will try to do discounts and all of that. They continue to build their trust on the quality, and that helps them to grow 1 year after another. After a year or so, I got a call from Unilever to join their business as a chief procurement planning and see how God designs your paths. I did planning, I did procurement. Now it's procurement planning.
there we go.
And now I'm planning for entire global tea business of Lipton.
How about that?
Now you're working cross-functional teams from Japan to South America. You're sourcing from China, Sri Lanka, India, from Africa, from Argentina. And you're on the table when you go and taste these teas. You feel the world is spread out and you're tasting every soil because it comes to the taste of the tea. So
Lovely. What a lovely way of thinking about it.
it's a very nice experience. And after a lot of tasting, I became a certified tea taster.
Well, there we go. Incredible.
And it is very important for in a tea industry, and if you're in procurement, that you have to be a tea taster to assess the value of the tea. Because the taste, the color, the hue, and those nuances in the cup of tea will let you know how to blend it better for your end consumer. By
You
the
see,
way, when you drink
yeah,
any tea,
yeah.
especially from Lipton, that cup is a blended cup because it's an agriculture product. The taste, the nuances will keep on changing. But as a consumer, we do not let down your experience. And that's how a blender works magic on every cup of Lipton, on every cup of peachy.
Well, you see, I'm now feeling completely guilty because my huge mug contains coffee, and I feel I've let the side down now by going to an interview with you and drinking coffee. So, look, I mean, you've had, and thank you for sharing that, a wonderful journey. But the thing that comes across loud and clear is a passion for learning, and experience. And, with that important bit that, you were given the gift of being given the trust to be able to make mistakes early. And therefore you are confident that you can learn and make mistakes, and the people that work for you can learn and make mistakes. So as now that you've arrived, senior leadership role in procurement, and you look around at the world in 2026, what's on your mind at the moment? I mean, what is it that is exciting you? What is it that's worrying you? And clearly, I know you're back in India now, but very recently, you've been in a part of the world that's, not having a great time at the moment. So what's your take from a procurement leader's perspective about what you see going on around you?
So let me put it like this. Every 60, 70 years, there's a geopolitical shift that happens. And I think, Richard, we are very, very lucky that every major shift is happening in front of us.
Yeah.
Now, what also happens, it brings a lot of challenges on the table, on the sea routes, on the tariffs, and so many challenges. So it is an exciting time to be in procurement, right? Because you have to explore something out of the box every time. You just cannot be relaxing and sitting and having a sip of tea or a coffee.
Do you know what? But do you know what? Again, what's just come across? Your mindset is forward-looking and positive. Change happens, but change is an opportunity.
Exactly. And it'll
Right.
always be.
Huh.
Yeah.
So
So in
yeah, go on.
the current situation, if you really see, they are framing new frameworks for the future. The power
Absolutely.
centers of the world are changing. One which was called as a superpower is clearly losing it. And people who have been silent are clearly gaining the visibility and are on the center of a table who were once the part of the menu. What I'm saying is the new supply chains, the new talents, the new tariffs which are coming through will change the geopolitical shape
Yeah.
of the entire trade of the world.
Hmm.
As I'm talking, there are also discussions between multiple countries to have new trade routes. Now, if that happens, that is a new arithmetic which will come in the picture and will
Yeah.
have a huge impact on GDPs of multiple countries. One of them is saying they have a trade route between India and Europe via UAE and Saudi. Now, if that happens, there's a transformational thing that's going to happen for GCC.
Absolutely.
Yes. The point is, if you see every change as an opportunity, you'll find what to do better next time. And I think that's what we should be doing.
Do you know what? It's interesting because I think you made the observation that there's this 70-year cycle, and sure enough, 70 years ago it was closing days of British power globally and the rise of US power. I happen to agree with you. I think we are watching in real time the demise of US power globally. And I think the shift that's been there for a long time towards not just China, but to the East, and not just China, but to India as well, and to other parts of Asia. But I think, the India and China are where both population centers, where growth, where innovation are, I think, ready to take that, if you like, that baton of that next era. I mean, one could even make the observation that it's restoring tea drinkers to their place. The British, great tea drinkers, India and China. Maybe that's what the Americans did wrong. They didn't drink enough tea. They like their coffee. Joking aside, because there's some serious stuff going on at the moment. But I think that your outlook of positivity and just accepting change for what it is, and it is always going to happen, and it's constant, and sometimes it's slow wave, sometimes it's built on shocks, and we're having a shock at the minute. But when you look around you at the way that procurement operates, both people and technology, and I view them as just one thing. It's a balance between people and technology and process. How do you feel about the way that procurement is positioned or preparing or ready to take on this kind of constant change? Because undoubtedly some thrive in it, but others struggle in it. What's your take about how you encourage your team to be able to operate comfortably in turbulence?
So, a couple of things, right? What is happening in everyone's mind today is AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Now, there is a feeling that artificial intelligence will come and all the jobs will go. No, it's not going to happen.
No.
Just cannot. See, articulation of activities and then making sense of them and then be able to decide what is best for an organization. Eventually, you need a human who would come and do that part. Yes, what AI is definitely doing, the researches will be much, much faster.
Yeah,
You don't have to waste like 30 days reading books and then taking 3 lines which are going to be helpful in your one presentation to your CEO. That will happen in 5 minutes now. Second, what I'm also seeing is there are two age groups which I'll put like this. The age groups between these and 50s who are now at senior positions. And then there are a lot of chunk which is doing redundant exercises. For example, making purchase orders
yeah,
or
yeah.
repetitive uh, tasks. I think those are in direct risk today. Now, I think every era has its own learning curve. This learning curve of this era has to be faster, smarter. Otherwise, the fresh lot which is coming will not able to survive the leadership roles because will not be equipped enough in terms of knowledge, challenges, failures, and success as a sauce which they should be having for the right sandwich. Because then what will happen is they will feel they're doing what is best for them, but ultimately that sandwich will be always the waste one. So I feel there has to be balance which organizations should be thinking. They should pick their choices and little more has to be done on the training of
Hmm.
people and also respecting the experiences. I suddenly feel that experience has become a liability, which is not right. And you
No.
should use this as your leverage. And this is where I think organizations have to understand that eventually, in 3 to 5 years of time, this will hit back if they do not understand today in terms of their own bottom line and
Yeah,
thought processes.
yeah. And I just want to take you back to one thing because I'm interested in your view about. You've made the observation that the cycle time is getting faster. So the ability of teams to take on new ideas, new technology, whether that's AI or not, and operate more quickly. There's more pressure externally, perhaps higher expectation from investors and leadership teams. One of the casualties of that kind of climate I've observed are the things that you talked about a little earlier. Experimentation, having the confidence to try and fail, having the room to be able to learn. How do you think we can achieve that balance between accelerating learning and the way we apply and use technology, while at the same time keeping the space and the freedom to learn and to make mistakes and to try new things? Because it strikes me that those two things are going to collide at some point. So, what's your view on that?
See, I always say the organizations are run from top to down because that's how they should be run. A CEO needs to run an organization. If you have a stable leader and a good outlook, then things will be smoother. Because what I'm seeing is today, everybody is running for share price. They're not running for a value. Now, if you're running for a share price, this chase is never going to happen. This is unending one. But if you're looking for an organization stability, organization which is profitable, organization which is churning, and surviving through the COVIDs of the world or the Red Sea crisis of the world, and making those resilient organizations, then you will definitely. There are a couple of examples in India. There's a diamond merchant who every year does a huge, reward ceremony for his employees. Yeah, they give them cars, the homes, and whatnot. Now, it may look very fancy that, oh my God, he's just spending, it does not make a business sense. But we should also think what he's earning is lifetime loyalty. Those people are not going anywhere. And they know the business and they have repeated everything millions of times in their life. So even in their sleep, they will do the activity 100% accurate. What we say Six Sigma, right? Now, the challenge over here is today, if a CEO has not performed for a year, the board will fire him. And the new CEO will come with a new entourage of leaders. And then the old perspective changes. So suddenly you're going right and now you're going left. And then the organization goes in a mode of confusion. The people who take responsibility are struggling to understand I have to do A work or a B work. And this is where the confusion happens. And then suddenly the organization feels lull, and the corridor chatters and pantry talks are getting increased because the focus from work has changed to gossip. And this is where I feel the leaders can do much more in terms of putting the ask. And instead of just running for a share price or this numbers, if they are really worried about the organization and the organization culture, then eventually this will give me or people down the line more confidence that I am safe and I should invest people. The
Do you know
trust
that?
has to flow.
Yeah. Do you know, it's such a love, and I have to say, it's a very, very different perspective. And I, you know, I used to work a lot in Asia. I have worked certainly for the last decade or so in the West, in Europe, and in the US. And you're right. My background is army, so if you ever come from an organisation which is long term and puts value in leadership and in that delivery of long term value capability, I think you're right. This it's a bit like football managers. If your team doesn't play well for half a season, you change the manager. There's no opportunity for the manager to try and put it right. And exactly to your example, a new football manager brings in new tactics, new coaching staff, new training mechanisms. It works great. It doesn't work. They get changed again. And as you say, you're in that constant cycle of uncertainty, and people's loyalty and confidence drops. It's almost an advert for private organizations, family organizations who take that longer view rather than those chasing shareholder value based on a share price. Well, look, Amit, I suspect we could spend a great deal of time talking, and not least because I think your view and your perspective and your cultural outlook on what matters, I think is both refreshing and different. But I have to ask you one final question.
Before
You're
that, add
oh
only
yeah,
one point.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Mention your military background.
Yeah,
I just crossed one name in my head. It's Lieutenant General Sam Manekshaw.
right.
So he was the first field marshal in India, and this gentleman said one very nice thing once. If you build capability, then you don't need money to motivate. And that's what army does. Motivating people enough and your leadership is strong enough. Unlike privates, you don't need to give bonuses and all of that. I'm not saying that you should not give, but I'm trying to tell if you have leaders in army, you don't get bonuses for each other activity. It's a leader who's motivating you. And that's why the work of a leader is so, so important in any organization.
Do you know what? You're so right. I mean, a very, very long time ago, when I was a young lieutenant,
Yeah.
in my first command appointment, I was commanding a troop, and there was an opportunity to go across to Canada. There's a big live firing training area just near Calgary, where battle groups get sent to do live firing training. And it's always been regarded as a bit of a career breaker. If you go there and you make mistakes, it's not good, right? And without sharing the name, the commanding officer of the battle group that I was working for, probably one of the two best leaders I've ever worked for in my life. And we had a bad day. I mean, not just me, I mean, the battle group as a whole, just about everything that could go wrong in training went wrong. Timings, direction, people got lost. It was just pretty much a disaster, actually. He did two things. One, he treated it literally as a learning exercise. Exactly your point. He just said, right, that's happened. Go away in your, infantry, cavalry, aviation, artillery. I was a Royal Engineer. Go away and work out for yourselves what went wrong in your bit of what you were doing. And then we'll get back together and we'll work out what went wrong when we were trying to work together. And we did that. And then the next day we had another big sort of 24-hour exercise, and he gave his orders group. And I will never forget, as a young lieutenant, his orders to me, which my experience in the past had been very prescriptive. Go here, do that, then do this, be ready to do that, and be here, and don't It was trying to juggle plates. When the minute you started walking, people started throwing different plates at you. It was hopeless. His orders to me were simply this: Richard, go where you need to go and do what you need to do. And do
Exactly.
you know what? I will never forget it, because two things happened. One, I felt completely trusted. And secondly, I absolutely wanted to perform at my best in respect of that trust. And it's funny, isn't it, how these lessons come to us in language. Yours was being told, don't worry about the mistake, mine are bigger. Mine was just go and do what you need to do wherever you need to do it. And they just change the way that we feel about the way that we work and how we lead others and how we respond. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? So look, now I'll ask you the last question, if I may. I'm glad you interrupted me. If you were sat down with someone who was, just starting their career in procurement, based on your journey, what piece of advice would you give that up and coming young procurement professional? What would it be?
So the first thing is focus and learn.
Right.
Unlearn and again learn. Okay. Do not ignore artificial intelligence. It is coming. It is here to stay. It will be new ways of working. It is something like there was once upon a time there were no laptops and there are only laptops today. So it's going to stay. So you need to learn and you should know how you can use benefit of AI for your work on a day-to-day basis. And third, I think this is the most important one, is build relationships. And you will only build relationships if you have a little longer vision. Don't think for one transaction. Don't think for two transactions. Think for 7 years, 10 years, or careers for yourself. And then you'll respect suppliers, then respect your colleagues, you'll respect people around you, and your name will be remembered because of good relationships that you build. Because at end, it is people who will see you through.
Amit,
Systems will teach.
Ahmed, what a lovely way to finish. Thank you. I love that. And thank you for your time and for sharing your journey. And more importantly, I'm looking forward to hearing what you get up to next in the next chapter of your journey. And look, if you're watching this, I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and hearing Amit's perspective. If you want to participate and contribute, please just get in touch. Purpose of the CPO perspective is to talk to people with different journeys and different experiences in procurement leadership roles around the world in different industries. And we'd love to hear from you and hear your story. But for now, from myself and Amit, I wish you all a great day and keep enjoying our wonderful profession of procurement. Amit, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Richard, for the opportunity. Thank you.